editorial podcast from the Daily Collegian. I'm Emmi Beuger, and I've been so busy studying for finals and wrapping up my final week at the Collegian that I need a day off to record this podcast.
I'm Souza, and I'm usually your producer for this show, but this is the last show as a graduating senior that I'm ever going to record for you guys here, and that's going to be pretty hard right about now. So we have a very special podcast for you today, though. We have 5 graduating seniors on our show with us today. All 5 of these seniors have spent all 4 years here at UMass working for the Collegian. And we're going to go into introductions now. We're going to go around the table, starting with Andrew Cyr to my left. They're each going to tell you their position.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Cyr. I've been the sports editor for 4 years. I joined the editorial staff as an assistant my second semester as a freshman, and I was promoted as a sports editor my second semester of my junior year.
My name is Jackson Maxwell. I'm the arts editor here at the Collegian, and I joined the editorial staff as the assistant editor for music all the way back in December of 2013, which I can't quite believe. I became the arts editor in the fall of 2015, then I went abroad, and the guy who succeeded me ended up resigning in December, so I became the arts editor again.
My name is Maral Margossian. I am the op-ed editor. I joined op-ed as an assistant editor my fall semester freshman year, and then I became the section editor the spring semester my junior year after Kate Leddy, who was also on the show, went abroad after he was the section editor.
My name is Robert Rigo. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Collegian. I joined before freshman year even started. I became a staff photographer before getting hired as an assistant photo editor spring semester of my freshman year. I was also the senior producer of Art Multimedia. I've been a copy editor. I'm a night editor. And I was a photo editor last year, so I've been as involved as one could get with the Collegian.
Is that all you did?
Yeah, that's it.
My name's Kate Leddy. I'm a copy editor down at the Collegian. I have sort of jumped all over. I started as a news assistant my freshman year, and then I was an op-ed assistant and a columnist, and then I became head of the op-ed section for a semester, went abroad and came back, and now I'm a copy editor, and I just hang around the office a lot.
Great, so we're going to start with our first question. So I'm just going to have everyone go around in a circle. We'll start with Cyr. What was your most proud moment at the Collegian?
I don't know if I could pinpoint my most proud moment. I think that as I look back, and I've kind of reflected over the 4 years, that I try to just summarize it in one simple moment. You can't really do that. I think I can speak for all of us here when we'll say that. But in terms of the moment that I really decided that I wanted to write this was after one of my first real stories my freshman year, in sports, kind of unlike anything else, you kind of start off at the bottom of the bottom, just doing the boring stuff. And then it was actually Steve Hewitt, who was the editor-in-chief my freshman year. He kind of gave me my first real story where I interviewed the basketball coach to talk about a former player who was giving a second shot in the NBA. And I just remember, after writing that, the next morning the coach had texted me and just said, "Hey, I read your story. It was really good. Thank you for writing that." And just kind of getting that text as an 18-year-old freshman was really rewarding, just because it's something I hadn't really done before. It was something that I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep doing this or be as involved as I was at the time. And so just kind of getting that breakthrough moment really kind of made me feel proud of the work I was doing and really drove my interest in keeping this going, because it's little things like that when it takes someone 15, 20 seconds out of their day just to say good job to you that really means a lot. So I don't know if that's necessarily my proudest moment, but that was definitely the breakthrough moment I had. That was I want to keep sticking with this for a little bit longer, and here we are.
I'd say probably my proudest moment was shortly after I became the arts editor fall my junior year. I just, on a whim, contacted the PR person for Lou Barlow, who's the bass player for Dinosaur Jr., who I've been a huge fan of since I was about 14. I knew that he had recently moved to Greenfield, so I knew he was in the area, and he had put out a solo record, and I just thought, well, I could review it, or maybe I could interview him, and I could pitch it it's the local paper. And I don't know how I did it, but I managed to get a hold of him, and I sat in my dorm room for 45 minutes interviewing Lou Barlow, which was just the most surreal experience. And the arts page the following week was just all these professional press photos of him and my conversation with Lou Barlow, which when I still think about it, it seems so strange to me. But definitely being able to bring a name like that to the Collegian specifically, and have him talk about a lot of things that were personal to him that he hadn't really said in other interviews it was something I was really proud of.
I'm not sure if this is the proudest moment, but it's what came to mind, like when you asked, and it happened this year. I don't remember if it was this semester or last semester, but a student sent in a column that they wanted to publish, and at that moment, like as it was, it couldn't be published yet. It needed a lot of work, so I told the person, come down, we could talk about it and like work through it. So I came down and I met with him, and some of the arguments he was making weren't very valid or were problematic, and I tried to explain that to him, and he was getting frustrated, and his tone eventually got a little bit aggressive, but to the best of my ability, I tried to remain calm, and I thought I did a pretty good job of remaining composed, and after everything happened, he chose not to publish an article with us, but I was glad to know that in those tough situations, I can keep calm and I can listen without getting heated.
It's really hard to pick my proudest moment just because being there makes me so proud. For all 4 years is probably my proudest moment because you just collect all these experiences. They just build you up. Like I've been able to go to Fenway Park and take pictures. Like I photographed like Old Crow Medicine Show and Kishibashi. Like I've been able to talk about my own experiences in the op-ed pages, and it's just been absolutely surreal that all of this is possible because of a college paper. You know, it's not a club, it's an institution, and it's so powerful. So being here is definitely my proudest moment, and having been at the Collegian for 4 years is an even prouder moment. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that is a really difficult question to answer. I think I would say my proudest moment, or one of my proudest moments, came when I was a columnist in my sophomore year. I wrote a column about a personal experience, and it was called Recovering from Anorexia on a Health-Obsessed Campus. And it was a personal topic that I'd never expressed anywhere at that time, and having the Collegian to be able to do that was really revolutionary for me, because coming into the journalism major, I'd always looked at like journalism and newspapers as something that's always objective. It's just like reporting things, and the op-ed section definitely has a special place in my heart because it was a place, like is a place where students can have that voice, and it was really cool to be able to use that, and it like inspired me to be able to do a lot more things with the Collegian, which has been cool.
That was really cool to listen to all your stories. For those of you who are listening who don't know, I'm a sports writer by trade. I've worked under Cyr for 3 years. This is the first time I've ever heard about that story, though. I'm surprised you never let off with that with many of the sports meetings.
No, there's so many moments you can look back on, but I try not to get caught up in the moment of it all. I always look forward to the next one, and because if you kind of start, at least in my opinion, but if you just keep looking or keep reflecting on the past and talk about how good something was back then, you're just going to set yourself up. So my whole mindset was just keep moving forward, put the bad stuff behind you, remember the good stuff, and I was always looking forward more to my next article than the one I had previously written, if that makes any sense.
Sure. I feel like some of you maybe have already touched upon this a little bit, but I wanted to ask you guys, what is sort of the biggest challenge that you guys face? I know especially for the couple of op-ed writers that we've had here, those can be some pretty challenging moments. I think Maral and Kate both just touched upon pretty challenging events that they had to go through here at the Collegian. So I just go around the table with everybody just to see, what the biggest challenge is for going through a sort of student-led newspaper, because that's something that I think people don't always fully understand. That this is 100% independent and student-run, which is a pretty special thing for us.
I think the hardest or the most challenging or difficult thing for me as I got older was to put everything in perspective. Because I remember being the freshman there that had no idea what they were doing. I kept finding ways to mess up InDesign, or my stories kept finding ways to get ripped apart by the editors. Kind of as you grow older and as you get more experience and as you get better, kind of see you're experiencing that transition happening. But then when you're at the top and you're the ones making those decisions, you kind of look back and see these are the same mistakes I was making, but at the same time having to be patient and being like, okay, they're not as far along, or they might not have the skill that I have now, but at the same time, the editors and the people around me before me were patient enough with me to let me get to this point today. And I think that as a senior and as someone who's a sports editor for a semester and a half, you do get frustrated at times because you send back corrections and it's the same thing over and over again. And just some people, everyone learns differently, and I was fortunate enough to have people ahead of me who were really patient with me and really stuck through my weaknesses and really challenged me and were on me to be better. But I think that just kind of stepping back and realizing that not everyone's a 4-year senior here. Some people are just doing this on the side because they like to write about sports and they're not necessarily entirely serious about doing this for a profession. So I think that the most challenging thing over the year was just to kind of remain level-headed and not get too worked up in the moment and just kind of accept things for what they were and realize that everyone is different and everyone matures and grows at their different speeds, and you're going to be disappointed some days, you're going to be happy some other days, but I think you just got to make sure you're remaining level-headed, or else you're just going to get worked up about things you can't really control.
I think definitely the biggest challenge for me was kind of like putting myself in the shoes of people who were new to the arts section, because I was pretty unique in that I came, and from the very beginning I was always going to the meetings. I became friends with the assistants pretty quickly, and soon enough I was part of the staff myself. So at times, when I would be at the meeting and I'd be like, this long arts tradition that were the assistants, because we tend to be fairly close, are always joking around, talking about inside jokes or things that they did together. And sometimes the writers are looking at us like, what on earth are you talking about? And it was interesting to me because when I went abroad to the University of Glasgow, I ended up doing a piece for their student magazine. And what was really interesting about that was I remember distinctly walking in and noticing that all the editors were talking in the same way that the art staff talks before their meetings. And I felt like a freshman again. And that was a really interesting perspective to have after going from being the arts editor to suddenly realizing, like, oh, this is what it's like to be a freshman. This is what it's like to be intimidated and not know anyone. And then feel like the editors are looking at you like you're crazy, like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? So I think definitely my biggest challenge was trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who was new to the arts section, somebody who wasn't familiar with the way we ran, because I'm just, over the years, it's like my second home. So I think that was probably my biggest challenge.
For me, it goes back to the story I just previously said. But it's not just writers that get a little frustrated. Sometimes it's also like either the UMass community or the reader community, because they won't necessarily agree with the opinions that we publish. And whether or not it's the individual writer that writes these, in the end, sometimes the community feels like, oh, the op-ed staff or the Collegian is not doing enough for the editorial section. They're not filtering things or whatever it is. But in the end, it kind of goes back to what Cyr said, remaining level-headed and, in a way, being objective with the opinions that you publish, because even if it's not something that you agree with, you have to publish. You don't necessarily have to, but you publish it knowing that it has its sources, it's backed up, and it doesn't matter if it gets this criticism. It's an opinion and it's valid. So you publish it and you stick by that decision. So that's kind of challenging.
The biggest challenge for myself, and I don't even know if I would call it a challenge, but it's just within the editorial team and with writers and photographers, just pushing them to be the best that they can be. I know for myself, I'm always seeking criticism, and I think it's really important to bettering your writing or anything that you do. And it's been a challenge sitting down with people and trying to help them improve, but I mean, to call it a challenge, even if it is that, is so hard because it's just something I've really enjoyed doing. But it is tough to sit down with writers or photographers or editors and be like, this isn't your best work, and I know you can do better. And not because I don't think you aren't good, it's because I know that you are great and that you can produce something that is of a much higher caliber. Because at the end of the day, whether or not people believe it, we have such an intense editorial process. 3 people are reading stories before they're getting published for fact-checking. We are sitting down with writers and people and trying to collaborate and make something to the best of its ability. And it's daunting and it's grueling, but you can't get to a better place if you aren't criticizing the process currently. And especially for people who I know can do amazing work, sitting down and saying, I expect better from you. And it's not, against their talent or anything. It's just, pushing them because you want to see them succeed. So that's definitely been a challenge, but I've loved seeing people just grow exponentially and just take on the world, essentially. It's really going to be beneficial to their careers, and it's just going to make their memories so much better than what they are now. So definitely the critiquing process has been growing, but it's absolutely necessary, and it's been a pleasure to see people grow so much this year.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest challenge has been maintaining that consistency with just the constant putting out content and putting out a paper that doesn't have mistakes, and recognizing that sometimes mistakes are happening, but like we have to keep pushing ourselves, like being better. And it definitely, speaking from a writer standpoint and an editor standpoint, it's definitely challenging to keep that content coming. I know as the year goes on, a lot of times content tends to drop off more because it's everyone is a full-time student, or almost everyone is a full-time student that is also on the staff or is a writer or something, and really committing to the paper and being able to keep that balance through the whole semester. You know, so a lot of times people start to burn out, and really having to pick yourself back up and continue pushing is definitely a challenge. But like Rob, I'm like so impressed by the work that people do put out.
So I have two more questions. So the first is, what will you miss most about the Collegian?
When I look to what I'm going to miss most, you're always going to miss the people. I mean, that's first and foremost. As someone who's been here 4 years, you have different waves of people. This group was entirely different than our freshman year. This group is entirely different than our sophomore year. This group is entirely differently than our junior year. That changes every year, and you're going to experience that no one, we're all under the Collegian, but no individual group is the same each year. But in terms of what I'm going to miss the most is I think it's going to be the freedom, almost, in the sense that a lot of times, and how I got to where I was today was because when I had a story idea, the editor said, you go out and make it happen. And I really tried to preach that on my writers, that you guys should be coming up with your own ideas, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to make sure that's going to happen. And I experienced that as both a writer and a head editor, because not only did I want to go out and do what I want to do, but at the same time, I wanted the people underneath me and who were just staff writers to say, here's my idea, Andrew, like, what can you do to help me have this? All right, I'll set up this interview for you. I'll send you these resources to look at and kind of sort through that. And as I've done this internship at a local newspaper, it's when I get to the office every day, they're saying, you have to go write this. And I don't really, you can spin it your own way and write it yourself, but you're not really coming in with the ideas. It's, all right, go write about this track opening, or go to this wrestling practice and talk about this one wrestler who's doing well. And so, those are the stories you want to take, but it's just the freedom of being able to say, here's a problem that's happening, or here's a character that I want to interview, without anyone to stop me to say no. And so, I think just having that freedom of being able to chase your own ideas and chase down your own stories is probably what I'm going to miss the most, because I think by doing that, I've grown a lot and I've learned a lot, and I think that really taught me how to be not only a better writer, but just be like a better thinker and a person, because I think that if you're the one coming in with your own ideas into places, whether it's here, whether it's at a future company or wherever it may be, as long as you're the one who's really being the driving force behind that, you're going to be successful in life. So I think it's really just the freedom that I gave my writers and the freedom that the editors gave me. And I think it all comes back to, as I started out younger, they were really good in the sense of, do whatever you want to do, and we'll say, we'll make it happen, and if it's good, we'll run it, and if it's not, no big deal, we'll work on it the next one, and we'll get to the next time. And so just kind of keeping that mentality of being the one who's determining what you're going to put on the pages is probably what I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah, definitely along the lines of what Cyr said, no question, the people, that's what I missed when I was away for a semester. I missed the people a lot. But along the lines of freedom, definitely what comes to me is the informality. There'd be nights when I'd be night editing 15 stories. I'd be doing insane amounts of work, but at the same time, I would also be scaring the daylights out of whatever new news assistant would be there by doing these crazy Don Pardo impressions because I was tired. And I'll miss being able to do that sort of quality work while also being able to mess around. I don't think I'll ever get the chance again, come up with story lists, come up with ideas that could make the Collegian look great while attaching a gif of Boris Yeltsin drunkenly dancing. So, I joke about that, but that's part of what makes, I think, the Collegian really special, is this camaraderie we have where we can act ridiculous and be ridiculous and mess around and have a really great time, but we can also, we also create this amazing paper. And that's what always amazes me at the end of the day is like how we can be joking around 1 minute and then I wake up the next morning and all I can remember like the crazy things we did and I'm like, wow, the paper looks really good today. So I guess, along with the people, along with the camaraderie, because there are people down here who are like family to me, it'll be that kind of informal environment that I've always really loved, and it's the reason I became so involved with it in the first place.
I'm also definitely going to miss people, that goes without saying. But when I was a columnist, I definitely loved the fact that I had a platform to voice my opinions anytime I wanted to. And I'm going to miss that. And I know that when I graduate, I can easily just start a blog like WordPress or Blogspot, whatever it is. But the Collegian provides sort of a stamp of legitimacy to your writing, and I won't have that if I, let's say, post on a blog or whatever it is. And I'm definitely going to miss that.
I definitely am going to miss building something with people. I mean, we've all been here for 4 years, and you just get to watch this baby that you've created just grow and grow and grow, and, we are getting a new website, and we're on Slack now, and we're just trying a lot of new things that I thought really changed the way that we did things in the Collegian for the better, and it's just going to be a bummer not to just watch it keep growing into the monster I really wanted it to turn into. I love it, and I'm so excited to see what they do next. I'm just sad I can't be a part of it, but I think the thing I'm going to miss the most is the physical office itself. There are so many memories in that office. So many times I've cried in the war room, so many different crazy, wacky things that we've done, from Don Pardo impressions to baseball with the newspapers and just decorating. And one of the greatest memories I have is this past weekend just like cleaning the office. It's full of cockroaches and mice, and it's just my favorite place, one of my favorite places in the world, because it's ours, and it's like you walk in and it's like sitting in your living room. There's just pictures everywhere, and there are stains on the floor, and there are posters on the wall, and they're all memories, and it just leaves this like incredible legacy of something that you helped grow and create for 127 years, and it has a life with you and it has a life without you. But the memories that you make there, as corny as it sounds, are forever, and they have built me to be an even better person and editor and friend, and it's just unlike anything I've ever done, and I'm really sad that I can't grow with it anymore, but I'm really happy for the 4 years I've spent, and I'm definitely going to miss the office.
I can't tell if this is going to be a good recruiting tool or a bad one. Between Don Pardo impressions and dead cockroaches to...
They're like their little pets.
Oh, I would call it a great
They're part of the family.
I didn't even know we had cockroaches and mice, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much because Rob's going to make me cry. What we just said. But, I don't know. I'm going to miss it being at home and all the people. And I'm just going to stop there.
So I haven't been looking at you guys throughout this whole thing because there's a bet going that I'm the first one to cry. I keep looking at Rob and he's making me want to cry. But you guys have meant so much to me as my first year on the staff. Like, I've gotten to know all of you in different ways. So I want one more question. So what has the Collegian meant for your undergraduate experience? And also, this applies to Nick as well, because Nick's a senior and he's leaving me, so I have to be here by myself next semester. So,
honestly, that might be a good thing for the show, honestly, when I'm not here anymore.
I don't think it's going to get recorded. It's not going to get recorded. I don't know how to do it.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
What has the Collegian meant to you, like to your undergraduate experience, to your life, to whatever? Everything.
Who's going first?
I think I have to.
Alright.
The Collegian made my experience here as an undergrad probably the best it ever possibly could be, because I feel like when I go back to like my friends who are like not involved with things around campus the same way I am, I feel like I have a more complete experience here. And I felt like not only has the university added to me, I've also added back to it. And that's a really special thing to walk away with. It's just, I have my name on just pieces of writing that are just will stay here forever beyond me and beyond my time. I don't know, in 5 years I could be dead, but the publications will still be here. My name will still be here, and that is cemented in ink. It's not pencil and paper. It can't be erased. It can't be taken away. It's online. It's forever in the archives. I will always have my piece here, and that's a really comforting feeling to know that I can look back on my time here at the Collegian. And just to wrap up, I am so thankful to be at this table with all of you too. You guys are all like really amazing, really dedicated people, and the fact that I get to be mentioned in the same breath as you guys is really awesome.
Just wreck me.
I'm so sorry. You guys, I don't always show it to you guys, but it means a lot for me to be here with you, and it's you've been some of the best people that I've known here. It's awesome. I'll pass it over to Cyr.
Yeah, and so it's hard to just summarize this in a short soundbite of what everything meant to me, but I think that coming in, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do talk radio, and that was my whole driving force, but when I walked in here, I didn't really expect to be working for a newspaper. I'd never expected to write as much as I did, but I honestly think that what it did for me most was the experience, not the whole experience of itself was memorable, and you can't summarize what the 4 years meant in one column or even in this podcast. But I think it goes beyond that, and I think it goes to the relationships you make with the people. Some of my assistants, my freshman year, I still talk to today. I'm in a group chat with 9 other collegiate sports editors who are all older than me, and those guys know we send upwards of 500 texts a day. And it's if you're watching any live sporting event, it's just a non-stop play-by-play freak out reaction of everything that happened. And so when I look to that, I've been to one of the guys' weddings already, and it's just it goes to show you that as a freshman who thought he knew everything or thought he knew more about this world and this life was kind of put into place pretty quickly, because you think that you're so good, you think that you're so smart, you think that what you're writing is the best thing ever, but then you quickly realize that, okay, I'm not as smart as I thought, I'm not as good as I thought, or whatever it may be. And just to kind of see those relationships stay, in the sense that, even today, I can go out and ask questions, I can ask questions about life, I can ask questions about journalism, I can ask questions just about anything, and they're still there for me. And I think as I look to all 4 years, I've made different relationships with different groups of people. I mentioned those guys know exactly who they are when I'm talking to them, but even just the people nowadays that I'll still send text to, or I'll get a text from someone hey, I read something that was really good. I think that means the most to me, just because people cared about me, and I think that I'm going to take that the most from it.
Definitely for me, I think a couple of other people have said this, Collegian is a home for me. I remember when I got hired as a freshman, I was 18 years old. I was very immature. I wasn't really emotionally ready for college. I, wasn't always having a great time. I felt uncomfortable a lot of the time. And the rest of the art staff ranged in age from 21 to 25 years old. The comic staff too, which was just Tracy. Hi, Tracy. They were 21 to 25 years old, and I thought they probably think I'm ridiculous. They'll look down on me. And they were always so welcoming to me. They embraced me, and they made me feel so comfortable. And from freshman year, the Collegian was just the one place where I could go and feel like, this is so cliche, I'm sorry, but I could be myself and not have to worry about anything. And over the last 4 years, I could just be having the worst day. I could fail a quiz, step into a giant pile of mud, just have the worst day. And I can be in a dark mood when I get down there, and within 20 minutes, it's gone. There would be times where I'd walk out of there after spending enough time there and be like, wait, where am I? I've had that thought legitimately, oh, I'm on campus, right? Because that's how different it feels to me. And what it means to me is it's just like a second home, basically. It's a place where I've always felt comfortable, and it's because of the people, really.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow this up, but it's been the one constant all throughout the 4 years of college. Classes may have changed, the people may have changed, and even the people in the Collegian may have changed, but the Collegian itself, the newspaper itself, that's been there with me all 4 years. And my position and role, either as an assistant, as a columnist, or section editor, that may have changed, but I've always glad to be here through the challenges and through the good times. And that means a lot. And I've learned so much, both in terms of perseverance and dedication and challenging myself both in writing and in thought. And that's what I'm going to take away from it.
I don't even know where to start. The Collegian didn't just change me, it made me. And the respect I have for it is immense because the people that have come before me are just beyond incredible. I go to New York City to visit them. I go to their homes, I meet their families, and I get to meet their dogs. And it's just, what changed me the most was that just the respect. The Collegian didn't chew me up and spit me out. It loved me for who I was, and it didn't hate me or criticize me for everything that I was not. It really made me feel like I was a part of something bigger than myself, and in college that was something I really needed. I really needed love and support, and I also needed a place where I could feel passionate about something, and that was something that didn't just change me, it literally saved my life. Having suffered from depression and just, having been able to come out and talk about all of this on the Collegian, it made me so much better, and I'm beyond grateful for this huge opportunity, because it saved my life. Beyond anything, this paper is life-changing, and it can do incredible things, no matter how big or small your part is in it. You are a part of it, and after that, it's just this huge legacy of love and arguing and just this really great thing that continues for the rest of your life. I mean, like Cyr said, you're going to weddings, you're being a part of these people's stories, and it's so much bigger than you, and you don't even realize it. It's the text that you send to old alumni, and it's the articles you share, and it's the conversations they have with you about how good you're doing or what you could be doing better. And at the end of the day, the Collegian doesn't chew you up and spit you out. It may ask you to be a little bit better because you can be better, but it loves you for who you are, and it won't ever ask you to change.
It's really hard to follow everyone up, not only because you all speak so perfectly to this, but also because you're just going to keep making me cry. I just think a lot about when I toured UMass as a freshman, and at the time I really didn't know whether I wanted a big school or a small school, and I really thought I wanted a small school. And I remember one of the tour guides at UMass telling me that the good thing about a big school is that you can find ways to make it small, but you can't go the other way around. And the Collegian has hands down been my way of making a huge campus like this feel small and feel personal. Because without offending anyone on the UMass administration, the Collegian has been more of a support system for me than any form of UMass administration ever was. And I think that's because it's such a big campus, and being a journalism major, that major is a little bit smaller, but especially as a public health major as well, it's a really large major. It's hard to get noticed, and the Collegian notices you, and I'm just so grateful to have it as my small family within this giant school. I don't think in the future I'm going to be all too excited about UMass alumni events, but Collegian alumni events, you better believe I am finding my way back there.
Well, I just want to thank you all for making this year amazing. I remember when I first met all of you, I was super scared of all of you and super because you're all seniors and you've been here so long. But I just wanted to thank you for being the most amazing people. I've cried so many times already. But yeah, I wanted to thank you all because I've gotten to know you all so much this year, and it's really meant a lot to me. And thank you, Nick, for everything you've done with the podcast. And you talk, Nick.
Okay, well, the podcast did go a little long, but for anybody who's listening, you got a pretty deep look into some of the true people, the true personalities here at the Daily Collegian, kind of what makes this place tick. This podcast will run on Tuesday, which will be our last day of production, our last paper. All 5 seniors here at the table are going to have their senior columns. I fully encourage everybody who's listening to read them, because I know they're all going to be great, because these are all 5 fantastic writers. Some of the best that I've ever met. So, thank you all for listening.
Are we going one final closing remarks? Are we doing that, or?
I mean, we could. My battery's at 3%, so if we can get through it, fantastic. Okay, that's fine. Fine. Maybe one last round of comments, impressions. Jackson, I'm looking at you. Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
There we go. We got it. All right.
No, just to kind of wrap it up quickly, but it's been a memorable 4 years, to say the least. I can't put into words on a written piece of paper everything that it meant, and all the experiences I had, and all the people I met. But I think at the end of the day, I don't really have any regrets, and I think that that's probably the best part of it all, in the sense that I did a lot of good things down here. I worked with a lot of good people, and at the end of the day, you always get people say, oh, I wish I did this, or I wish I did that. I don't really have too many of those, to be honest. There are going to be some things I don't miss, just in terms of the nitty-gritty day-to-day stuff, but I mean, just in terms of blasting music throughout the speakers, or yelling at the top of my lungs, or throwing things when I'm angry, that won't hurt anyone. But it's been a fun ride, and I'm not sure if any prospective student is listening to this, but if you are, the only piece of advice I will give is don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to try something new, because there's so many things you can possibly do. And if you just limit yourself to what you're comfortable with, then, you're not going to have fun in life. And that's the best. You want to be fun and you want to have happy. And to do so, you got to step out of your comfort zone. And I highly encourage all of you to do that, because I came in as someone who had no interest in working for a newspaper. And look at where I'm sitting right now.
I really don't have much to say other than the fact that when I look back at my time at UMass, I'm definitely the Collegian's gonna occupy a massive space in those memories, and without even a shadow of a doubt, I can say it's been the greatest pleasure of my college experience, and one of the greatest pleasures of my life to work for the Collegian and spend so many hours down there. I wouldn't take it back for the world.
I know this is also a cliche, but I'm not very good at goodbyes. I'm pretty awkward.
It's a podcast full of cliches.
No, but it's been a blast. I have nothing more to say. I'm so glad I joined it. It's the one thing that I knew that I wanted to do before I came to UMass, over the summer when I just accepted my place at UMass, and I'm glad I did. No regrets too.
It's hard to have a final word, especially because words aren't really my thing.
He's a picture guy. He likes to visually represent himself.
But I've just loved it. I've just fallen in love with this place and the people, and it has just made me who I am. It is so integral to who I am as a person, and just everything I am as a journalist. I owe so much to the Collegian, and I love it with every bit of myself, and I love the people, whether they believe it or not. Despite all the critiquing and craziness, I love the people at this table, and I love editors before and after. But this is something so much bigger than all of us, and more importantly, it's a family that has existed for 127 years and will be around for 127 more. And it's just been the absolute time of my life, and being the editor-in-chief has been probably the greatest accomplishment in my life, because for once, people weren't putting me in a box, and I got to be something bigger than what people told me.
I just love you guys. I can't. I don't know, I always feel like I am a person that talks a lot, and I'm just speechless now. I just can't say anything more.
Wait, I have
Merle's like, I got it.
no soup for you.
We can't.
What a Seinfeld reference.
The Seinfeld references. I actually had it on Cyr that he was going to put the Seinfeld reference in the show. So this has been a very long, very cliched podcast. Emmi, do you have anything else left to say before we sign off?
No, I'm gonna miss you all so much.
We love you.
And I love all of you.
Thank you so much for listening, guys.